All right, last week we went around the door jambs and around the walls and stuff here on this vinyl plank project. This week, Lord willing, we're going to get it completely finished up. So hang out and watch how we work this till the end. Okay, so this is where we left off right here. We got one more piece to cut right here to wrap around the wall right there. And then we will be ready to just rock and roll on this. We're going to have to make a cut around the door jamb there and over here around the door jamb. Let's get to it. Okay, so we're going to take our 1/4 inch spacer, maybe 2 of them on the starting of this, put one on each side of it there, that way it stays nice and straight, and just butt this directly against the wall, and we know we got our 1/4 inch. Go ahead and lock in our next piece right there. It don't have to be perfect as far as on the back run or anything. We are simply getting our length, because we cannot turn a board around backwards and mark it out normally like we would do, because it will not go past our threshold here and get us the correct amount of length because of our door jamb. So I'm actually going to take a tape measure and measure from here right down through here under the door jamb, give myself about a 1/4 inch under the door jamb to ensure that we do not have a little void underneath of this right here. Okay, so that's what I'm fixing to do to get our length. And that is going to be 26 5/8. Making sure we don't have the same board, I'm going to measure from the end down here 26 5/8. Give me a mark and score and snap it. Okay, in order to get our board notched out here for this piece, we can't do this like a traditional scribe because, again, we can't get it all the way where we need it because this is sticking out. So I'm going to go ahead and get my notch cut first. That way I can get it here and mark it precisely what I need for this door jamb cut right here. And to do that, I'm going to use a tape measure. Don't often need a tape measure for this, but again, we don't have any choice because we are hitting the door jamb on this one. So I'm going to measure directly from the baseboard over to the tongue of my board right here. So I still have an expansion, and that's going to be 1 inch. Okay, so 1 inch from here to there. Then I want to measure from the front of my board directly to the edge of my baseboard right there, and it looks like we're looking at about 1 3/4 inches, and that'll give us a 1/4 inch expansion. So I want to measure over 1 3/4 inches, and I'm going to go with that measurement all the way down. I'm going to measure again 1 3/4 inches. I'll get me a mark on that and cut it. I can use my square for this one right here, and 1 3/4 inches is where I want to start and go that way. Now I can take a scrap board and just line it on both ends on my mark to get me a mark here right down there. Okay, most of the time, like almost always, I will use a table saw to make these rip cuts, especially on a situation like this. If you try to score this one and bend it back and snap it, really good chance, like 99% chance, it's going to snap this off even if you don't score it here. But because there's not much here, it's only 1 inch, it's probably going to break that. So I'm going to take my jigsaw and make this cut right there. Okay, so now we have our board cut there, And we are ready to go ahead and lock in these next two boards, that one and that one. That way we can have it exactly where we want it so we can get our measurement down here. I still have my spacers on the end right there. I'm going to take this, get it set in my groove, and do a little sawing motion back and forth just to ensure it is in the track good and the locking mechanism good. Make sure my spacer is there. It is butted the wall, and let it go. There we have that one is locked in. Okay, I'm going to do the little bit different here. I have to lock this end in, just like always. You got to do the end first, and then we can lean it up. Now this is, I don't have to do it that way because I can literally get in the doorway and work this around. Okay, now we're all locked in and secured here. I'm going to go ahead and take care of our notch cut, okay? Okay, now we have it locked in. This is our current situation. This is what we got going on. I'm going to take a dummy board, just a regular board here, and lock it in so we got something to go by there, okay? There we go. We got that locked in. I'll show you what it looks like here. This is what it looks like. We just have our notch piece missing. Okay. Now I'm going to take my notch piece here and I'm going to line it directly up with the bottom piece right there and get me a mark on my threshold right here. Try to keep my hands out of the way. Again, I want it to be just a little bit shy, but not too much because I don't want it touching anything. So I got me a mark. Right there's what I want. And now I want to measure from here over to the threshold. And I have 25 1/4, okay? So I'm probably going to drop it back about 20. It's actually a little more than 1/4, but I'm going to drop it back to 25, okay? So coming from the end of my board, I'm going to drop it back 25. I'm going to do about 25 1/16. Go ahead and get my mark on there. Right there, and right there. Okay, now that is for my threshold right there. Now, the rest of that is going to be just fine. That's the only thing I've got to do, and then this should go up under my door jamb plenty far enough, okay? Okay, I have moved my dummy board that I had laid out here to get my mark on, or a reference by. This is my notch piece here. What I'm going to do with this, I want to get it tucked up under the door jamb there, and I'm just going to, again, we have to do the end joint first. So it is tucked under my door jamb there. And I'm going to take and bow this up here in the middle like that. And that's going to allow my end joint to lock in there nicely because I'm getting that angle on it, okay? Now that's locked in. All I have to do now is lock in this side joint. That's going to be very easy because it's only 1 inch. As always, I'm going to give my plank just a little lean. Tap it right in there. That's what we got going on. Okay. Now this is the result. We are all finished up with this part. I can now go ahead and drop me a spacer in over here to make sure this don't move whenever I start tapping in our longer boards. I'm going to use a Bessie spacer to do that. Stick it in there and again just give it a little turn until it's tight. That way I know this ain't going to move. That is ready to rock and roll. Every time I drop one in, I want to do just a little saw motion back and forth. Make sure we get it all locked in there nicely like it's supposed to do. Get my next piece, the end joints. always end joints first on this particular kind of locking mechanism. And again, right here in the doorway, I can come on over here and work it the proper way. And to keep from cutting and working and cutting and working and cutting and working, I'm going to go ahead and get all of these runs locked in place before I make my end cuts down there, if that's possible. When I say if that's possible, I won't be able to, obviously, because this piece here actually sticks out further than this one. So before I put this one in, I got to get this one done. Actually, I can take this piece here, as long as it's not, yeah. So we're about 4 or 5 inches longer with this piece than we are with this second run here. I would not want it to be exact. It's going to look like an H joint. With 4 or 5 inches extra length, it's not going to show up so bad like an H joint. And that does allow me to go ahead and get another full run in there. And now I can go ahead and start with another full board, and that's going to put an end joint. You always want to keep a look on your flooring as you're working it to make sure you don't have a huge section anywhere that does not have an end joint. If you find yourself 3 or 4 runs in a row that don't have an end joint within a few feet, you definitely want to make that work so you do have an end joint there. If not, you're going to look like you have, it will be, not look like, it will have just a big bare spot in the floor without any end joints, and it really stands out. Really big eyesore if you got a big section 3 or 4 feet there without an end joint. So keep an eye on where your end joints are going as you're doing the install, and it will make everything a lot easier for you. Okay, I got these all done. Let's go ahead and make our cuts. So it's kind of a stair step, but they are definitely spaced out. This is probably a half a board, maybe more. That's a quarter of a board. This is about a half a board or more. So they're not like a few inches, a few inches, a few inches. There's plenty of length in between there. Whenever I get my next runs installed here, you'll see that that does not show up as a stair step, as you might think just from looking at it like this on the floor, okay? Stair stepping definitely makes your floor look hideous. I do not like to have any stair stepping. I don't like to have any H joints or anything. Sometimes it happens. Nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes, but avoid it as much as you can for a nice looking floor. Okay. As always, we want to make sure we're not putting a board down that has a similar board or one just like it next to it. So keep your eyes peeled. We don't want the same board. And again, we're just going to butt it up against the wall, threshold, whatever we're working on. And just like I showed you in a couple videos past, we want to mark this at the edge of this tongue here, not to the actual working product. This is going to give us this much expansion, which is a 1/4 inch. So I will cut it right to the edge of that tongue. Now that I got it marked, I can put my square on it. Get me a cut. This board that has the opposite end on it, I can now take this to the other end of the room and use that as a starter. And the same thing, my end joint first. Get a little raise up on it, little angle, tap it in there. Turn our board around backwards. Mark it at the edge. Technically, you don't even have to mark it there. You can leave it here. As long as you're not on your floor over here, you can leave it right where it is and just line your little square up with the tongue down underneath there and make your cut like that. You don't have to mark it unless when you have it laid out here, you have flooring sticking out on this side of the plank. On this side, not this side, but this side. In joint. Little lean. And this one is going to fit completely in there. Put my square at the edge of the tongue. Make my score. Bend it backwards. There we go. Okay, get a couple more. Actually, I think one more run. And I get 2 more runs put in here. Then I'll be past my door jamb and I'll be able to run the rest of the room out. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get my starters laid out there. That way I know what I can run with as far as other boards. Now that's too close. This is only about 1.5 inches from that one. Even though this is going to be all the way over here, it's still going to create an H joint. So we don't want to do that, okay? I think this will be a pretty nice one right there. We'll go ahead and take off with that one. That's exactly what we'll do. Take off with that one, and I can go ahead and get this first one locked in. I can actually, if I decide to go with the short one, I can actually get 2 of them locked in there, and I believe I will. I'm going to go with this other short one right here. It's going to be a nice separation from here to here, and then I will drop back with about a half board and then go with almost a full length board here. Actually, I will switch this out because these 2 are the same and I don't want that. So let me drop this full board in right here. Okay, same thing on this one as a while ago, but I am able to now get this all the way back there far enough under the door jamb like I want, so I don't have to use my tape measure. And again, I'm going to give myself just a little extra for expansion. Okay, I'm going to place it where it needs to be. Okay, I got this board where it needs to be. I'm going to give myself just about a 1/4 inch right here. Coming from beside that, I don't want it to touch. And then we can put it all the way under there. Make sure our end here is where we want it. This is locked in. Now I can see on this end where we need to mark it, about a 1/4 inch, okay? Unlock that and connect this line with this line, okay? And go make my cut. Okay, so just like I did on the other side over there with the notch piece right here, I'm going to do the exact same thing here. I'm going to get it tucked under my door jamb where it needs to be. Give it a little bend, arch it up a little bit so this end will lock in position, okay? Right there, okay. Now this is locked in. I can give it just a tiny lean. I can't do a whole lot because it's under there, but I can get a little bit. Right there. Right there. That's all in position. Everything covers nicely. We don't have any voids up in there or anything like that. Everything has worked out nicely on both sides. Everything is completely covered by the door jambs. So this next little part is going to be pretty boring, so I will probably just speed this up until I get over there, worked next to the wall, and have to show something else. Main thing you got to worry about out in the field, again, keeping your end joints in the proper places and don't put the same boards next to one another. So what I was talking about a while ago with having a bare spot without any end joints, I've got 3 rows right here. There's 1, 2, 3 rows without any end joints. So even though it might be a little bit close to the end of this, I want to get me an end joint right in here somewhere because there's no end joints until we get way back here 4 rows over. So I'm going to put this board here backwards, give myself a mark, and chop it off right there, and then I'll have an end joint somewhere right in there. I will definitely make sure that my next board is completely random and not going to be a stair-stepping issue. So my next board will either be a real short one. Actually, it will be a real short one because I'm going to use this one right here. That way it's not even close to a stair step whatsoever. You don't have to have a ton of spacers because once you get 3 or 4 rows on the wall, you can come back here, what is already locked in place and everything like that, and grab those spacers and just continue moving them up across the room as you go. You don't have to have 50,000 spacers or something to do a job. As long as you have, you could probably get by with about 20 spacers on any kind of job because you're going to need a few depending on how long your first wall is. You got to have a few on that wall on that first run, but after that you don't need a whole lot. Like I said, maybe 5 or 6 to do your end joints up against the wall. I do have a little bit extra to go underneath of this door jamb, so I am going to push it up under there pretty good all the way, actually until it stops, and then I will mark it at my tongue, and that'll give me my 1/4 inch expansion. That will look, it will be underneath of the baseboard on this end, but that's not going to hurt because my baseboard is raised up off of the floor, and I'm going to have plenty of expansion under it. But it is going to make it a little troublesome getting this board in. So let me show you what I'm going to do with that. So I'm going to get it here and get it started right in the groove, just like it goes right there. And I'm just going to slide it straight back. And that way, my end joint is going to be already locked in. And I am not going to have to, do any bending or bowing or anything like that. Now, like I did in a previous video, because I got to get up over this, I want to raise up on it, tap it in there. Now it's over top of that other tongue. I can continue to knock it in there. Now I'm all the way back. I have just a little bit of a gap right here. I need to get it locked in place now. So I'm going to raise it up as much as I can. Give myself a little tap. There we go. A little bit more here. There we go. Okay, well, it looks like I forgot to push record on all of that. So anyway, I have got my last run. I got all this put together, and I have my last run put in here. I went ahead and actually got my last run put together, and on top of this, so you can see here, I've got this run put together on top here, getting it set up for our scribe, okay? What I was just saying before I realized I wasn't recording is I want to do a little something different, a different scribe on this, because looking down the wall, you can see I don't have no bows or anything like that. It's a nice straight wall. So I'm not going to be concerned about using a short scribe board, marking it, going outside and cutting it and everything else. This is a nice straight wall. So let me show you what I'm going to do. I have cut the back of this board off here, just like I did my scribe board. See, this is the tongue that goes on the back of it. I just now shaved it off. And I'm going to use it as a scribe board, real nice and long like that. So just like I do with my traditional scribe board, I'm going to slide this piece all the way over. This now my scribe board. Just put my knee on it, and I'm going to score right down the front of this tongue. I'm going to do it twice just to make it a little easier on me. But doing it like this, it's going to save me from marking it with my pencil, going outside and making these rip cuts with a saw. With my, in this case, it's going to be my, it's saving me from taking it outside and cutting it with my jigsaw. So by the time I could mark it, almost by the time I could mark it, I'm now going to have it all scored and able to bend it backwards and break it off. And I don't have any trips outside or anything like that. I'm going to be good to go. I can simply score it and snap the length. Long straight walls like this, again, straight walls, this is the more efficient way to do it. Save you a lot of time, a lot of running back and forth. Again, you need to make sure your walls are straight in order for you to do it this way. If it is crooked, you're going to want to use a shorter scribe board and take it out on the saw and do it like I showed in previous videos. I've been on a little series here, so if you have missed out and you're curious how I got to this part so far, by all means go check out my latest videos. I have got 3 other videos, I believe. Floor prep, how to prep them out and everything like that, how I installed every bit of this up to this point, okay? Now I have them all cut. I'm going to take them back apart now and simply right here's my scribe. You can't see it, but you can feel it with your fingers. So I got my fingers right where it needs to break, and I'm going to put my thumbs right where it needs to break. Bend it backwards And then just follow that brake right on down the board. Do the same thing on every single one of these. It is a little tough maybe to get it started, but once you get it started, you can just work right down the board with that existing brake. Yeah, that one was a little bit tough to get started. This little short piece, it's going to be a little rough to do that, so I'm going to stand it up against the floor like that, snap the end, snap it off right where I scribed it. Okay, let's get a pry bar and a pull bar. Let's put these bad boys in. Got my spacer, allowing my 1/4 inch. I want to simply get it up on the, raised up at an angle, put it together. Using my pry bar, listen, you hear that? Maybe you didn't, maybe you did. It snapped in there just ever so sweetly. Do the same thing with this one. Get them all locked in there. Ooh, got a little piece of garbage right there. That little bitty piece may not look significant, but that will absolutely stop your planks from going together. You will fight it and fight it and fight it. Eventually get it, but it will not be right. By all means, make sure your tracks, your locking mechanisms are all cleaned out and ready to go. Clear, okay? Again, leaning it up just a little bit, using my pry bar to lock it in. I'm gonna, once I get everything done, actually I'll go ahead and do it now. These are in, but just to make sure they're seated good, that the joints go together nicely. Boom, 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 boom. You get the point. I don't have to boom, boom all the way down. But that's what I'm going to do. Every single one of these, all the way down the wall. After I get it the rest of the way put together, I'll do the same thing with my pull bar. There we go. Okay. Little bitty piece. End joint first. Raising it up a bit, just a bit. Locking that in place. Okay. There we go. Let's finish this out with the pull bar. Ba-boom. Ba-boom. And getting 2 with 1 here. Ba-boom. Little short piece and the long piece at one tap. I hope we helped somebody anyway. So, thank you guys for tuning in to the channel. And until next week, FBSB's out.